Hello, welcome to Don't Wig Out with Amy and Georgia. I hope you've had a good week. Tonight's guest is Haley Kaplan. Now, this is part 2 of the show we did last week, which was privacy on the internet. And we thought it was very important to bring to you those things that either you need to watch out for, learn about, stay away from, what to do to put the right information on the internet, and how the hell you get the wrong stuff off, and what that can do if it's on. But tonight we're actually we're going to cover a little different. We're going to actually go into cyberbullying and social media and some of the things that we all fall prey to, like putting too much of our stuff on Facebook. And so Haley's going to be here with us, and she is truly the cyber detective, as I say. So somebody needs to reach us?
Yes. If you have questions for Haley, you saw the show last week and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting to ask this. Now's your time. 323-284-7826 is the number to call. It's 323-284-7826. Call in, ask us questions. And if you want to send them in the writing form, you can write it over on this side and we will answer them, or tweet it to me, or send us an email, info@don'twigout.com if you want it to be kept private, which makes sense. Or you can go and watch us, and all the amazing videos have a Don't Wig Out marathon at vimeo.com, Don't Wig Out. It's amazing.
You are the cutest little button. She's a button. So before we go to commercial, I'm actually going to introduce Haley. Thank you so much for coming back to the studio.
Thank you. Nice to be back. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Georgia. Keep Georgia and salmon.
So we got all these emails of people that you pissed off. Okay, so
Sorry.
yeah. So here's a couple of the email kind of reactions are, what makes her think she's right? Because some of the information that I've put on the internet, I don't mind being on. I have no problem with where I've lived before. No big deal, right? That person I really believe wasn't listening to our last show carefully, because that stuff actually can be very dangerous to have it on, and we're going to go into more of that. And I think what's most interesting is the online dating stuff we're going to be covering, because that is huge. You know, I met my husband on Match.com. Did you know
I
that?
didn't know that. Okay.
Match.com, yes. But I often wondered how much more stuff do they have of me, because I filled out that profile and everything. So we're going to come back and talk with Haley Kaplan, Miss Cyber Expert in terms of privacy. So welcome back to Don't Wig Out. We'll be right back. Haley Kaplan is in the house. Welcome back to Don't Wig Out with Amy and Georgia, and our special guest, Haley Kaplan, who is the cyber privacy expert. And since our show is heavily seen and viewed by women, we thought it was important to keep our gender safe. So yes, this person who wrote in was a bit teed off at you and said, what makes her think that what she does is correct? I mean, here's the example. She says she took it off. I don't know how to find this. She had to go deep into the internet to find it. I would never know how to find it. So how do I know if she did her job?
Well, when you hire me, you get proof, because I actually give all the information that I locate in screenshots, just like I did for both of you ahead of time. So people know what I found before I take it off. Now, there's different levels of information out there, so... Oh, wait, but I'm not answering your question.
No, that's okay, but hold on a second. So you let me know, but wait a minute. So you may give me a whole readout, right? I'm the pessimist. I'm the devil's advocate for the moment. So I've hired you, I paid you, but how much are you, by the way?
Well, it varies. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But it depends. I've learned my lesson that before I give a quote, I do some homework on the people ahead of time.
Yeah.
And boy, has that been interesting and enlightening in lots of different ways. So in general, I find that women take longer to remove from the internet if they've been married. People that have lived in multiple states, I have to search for them in each state. If they have names that have...
a lot more work.
So there's more work. So
Okay.
I would say the average price is about $1,500 to get off of
It's
about...
worth it.
It's cheap. It could be going up by the minute because it's taking longer and it's getting harder each week to get people off. These sites are making changes.
Really?
And what used to just take me minutes several months ago has gotten a lot more challenging because the sites don't want you to come off.
Right.
So they're not making it
So you
easy.
give me a readout, and I'm all yay, all my stuff is off, right? But for me to go back into that site and really look that up, And
You
to go
have
deep
to.
in?
I need you to do that. That's part of my process.
Okay,
That is
so you're
part of
going
my
to teach me
process.
how to do that so that I can check occasionally to see if I'm still off of there or not.
I
That's
am.
really honest. That's
And
Yeah.
I'm
That's
going to
great.
do that. And on top of that, I'm also going to give you hints on how not to get back on. Because every one of these sites, without exception, tells you that they can't guarantee that your information will stay off, that your information can come back at any time. No time limit. So at first I was very cautious about giving warranties, and I don't know if you remember last week when I told you that when the first people asked me to do it for them for a fee, I was scared because I thought the sites say it in black and white. I've read their privacy policies. They don't guarantee it's going to stay off.
Wow.
So I educate the clients that work with me about the things that get your information back on once it's off. And even if they don't work with me, and I'm going to say this to everybody here, go to my website and read my article on how to keep information off the internet.
Can you put her website up for a sec?
And
right.
and that's going to be because before I start to opt someone out, before I start to remove their information, I want them to know what behaviors to start practicing so that they don't undo the work that I've done.
But you know what I didn't ask you? I didn't ask you last week. Did you have identity theft? Is that what made you do this? I forgot what you said.
I haven't had it personally, but my husband has had it several times, like you, and
No, but
several
what made
types.
you when you said you started it with the blog? What was the thing that happened that made you
Oh,
start
I
your
got
business?
I got into trouble because I posted a semi-naked
That's right,
picture of a
of the
baby.
baby, right, and
And
that
then I
started it.
started to realize about a lot of
Your
different
little
cyber
nephew's tushy.
mistakes. Right, but there were a lot of there's crazy current things in the news. Did you guys hear about the tweet that went out from U.S. Airways?
No.
No?
Well, I wish I had a picture to show you, but there's a lot
Can
of
you find it? Can you find it?
Oh, he could,
Which
but
one?
okay. This is the one that was a general customer service response, and inadvertently they attached a pornographic. You know which one I'm talking
Yes,
about?
do you want that picture up?
No, I don't,
but
because
oh my God.
because
What happened?
What happened was somebody sent in a picture of a girl in a very compromising position with an airplane. Oh, you found it?
God! Oh my God! Show Georgia.
Oh
my
no,
God.
no, don't show this because whenever I talk about that, I block it
I
out
didn't
very
get to
nicely.
see. I
my
didn't get to
God.
No,
see.
I won't show
Okay,
on the air.
yeah.
Oh
No, you can't. Right? Airplane
How
shot where the sun
horrible.
doesn't shine, right?
Oh my God!
So-
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and that's
That's why it was
a cyber mistake. That's just so part of
Well,
what I
not
teach on the
Hang on.
it was a mistake.
U.S. Airways tweeted that picture.
A mistake. Somebody sent that pornographic picture, and for the viewers, there was an airplane involved in that picture. So somebody thought it was funny to send it to U.S.
Oh,
Airways.
my God.
Inadvertently, that photograph, that very hideous and pornographic photograph, got attached to a very innocent. Thanks for your feedback. We appreciate your feedback.
Oh.
And it went viral instantly, and it was on local news over and over again for a while. So the point is that there's a lot of crazy cyber mistakes people make. It could be on Twitter, it could be on Facebook, it could be emails, because yours truly was known to send an email with the subtitle, with the subject that said, Jane is a bitch, and I accidentally sent that email directly to Jane
Oh, no.
instead of to the person. So I got fired from a job for that. So this happened several years
Wow.
ago. But their technology makes life really easy, and it can really mess things up for us too.
Right.
So on my blog, I educate people about how to avoid different things that can go
But
wrong.
you had a really interesting thing happen where you took on a client. You were telling me you took on a client and didn't know who he was, and then found out. What's that story?
Ooh, you brought that up. Okay,
I did. I
did
just
not
think it's
take him on.
crazy.
I did not take him on. But obviously, people that are going to approach me to remove their information are going to have very different reasons for doing it.
Okay.
So, and we have to get back to that hate mail you discussed. We
I
will
will.
get back to
Okay.
that because,
It
I'm
wasn't real
sensitive.
hate. It wasn't actually hate mail. It was more that she just didn't believe it.
I know.
Because
And I
you
do want to
people-
address that. I
No,
do
but
wanna-
you want people to take you for your word. Not everybody's
right,
going
and I
to.
prove it. So
not
so
everybody-
in
but
that
I love that you
respect,
do. I love that you do.
I do give. I'm in communication with every one of my clients quite a bit throughout the process
Okay.
by email, so that they can see I don't want to bother people because they're hiring me so that they don't have to be bothered.
Let's go back to the story. I want to hear the story.
Okay, so the story is, before I take on a client, I've learned the hard way that I need to do some investigating. You called me the cyber detective. I have indeed become that.
Well, your little logo is like that. It's like
It is.
Sherlock Holmes.
It is. It is, exactly.
I love it.
So what happened to me recently, and I'm going to start out by telling you I did not take on this client.
Okay.
I started to Google him, and it became clear within seconds that he was on a most wanted list. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't take on a criminal, because depending on the situation, I might. But
Everybody deserves a second chance.
everybody does, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have to defend the guilty. And
Right.
I think there are virtues, just like Georgia mentioned last week, to being able to get background information on people that maybe aren't who they say they are.
right.
It's all the innocent people that are being exploited that it bothers. You know,
Right.
if
I
there's
have
a
to
lot
tell
of
you, it's a very powerful moment. A couple of years ago, I met a guy, and I was like, "Oh, he's so handsome. He's so lovely." I was just like, "This guy's amazing." And I went to type him in, and I did the Google images first, and 2 mugshots came up, and I was
there
like,
you go.
No.
Exactly.
"Oh no!"
Oh my God.
That's not what he was. I was already picturing the wedding and the babies, and now there's mugshots involved. This is not fair.
And
It
that
saved
stuff
me.
comes
It
up.
completely
It-
saved me because he
Right.
really was a mess.
Wow.
So ideally, I don't want to get rid of somebody's mugshots, because I wouldn't want someone like you to be in harm's way. And I certainly wouldn't want someone that was going to harm children. I would not be comfortable getting their information off
Right,
from
of
that
course.
perspective. But there's many innocent people that have their private information there that shouldn't be exploited for that. But going back to the story, so this gentleman, within seconds, I discovered that he was currently most wanted. And that was awkward for me, because he was coming to me in confidence, and he deserves a chance. So I started to do a little bit more homework. And remember, I spoke about things that we put on there ourselves and things that are out of our control. Well, this gentleman had a lot of stuff on there that he had posted that was really putting. He had gotten on chat rooms, and he'd posted some very risque sexual stuff. And that was from 2011, and it was following him. That's the stuff I can't get off. That's really hard to get off. That
Really?
he'd caused himself. Now, if he was on the run, but all of his Facebook information was very interconnected, and he was a very nice looking man, and there was nothing wrong with what was on Facebook, let me add.
Wow.
But he was really putting his information out there in ways that he shouldn't have for his situation. So I was able to respond to him honestly. I'm not really the person to help you, because while I can get you out of the directory, so sure, I can get your home address out.
Right.
I can get your age out. I can get your mugshots out from the directories that are sharing it as part of a paid report. But there's a lot of information that I really can't, news articles, I can't get that out.
Yeah.
I think you referenced that with the article. That history, we can't change history. This is just helping to hold on to our privacy a little more when we're
Right.
innocent.
Right.
Can I ask a question on that? Actually, it's something that I might be able to relate some information to a friend of mine that I care a lot about, and it would be really helpful. He was in a situation, certainly not to name any names, and I'll try and change it as much as I can, but he got arrested about a year ago under charges that he was not guilty of, but the girl was hysterical. She'd had a history of lying and
Yes, that does
reporting things,
happen.
and
Yes.
he, unfortunately, her lawyer and whoever was involved published an article while the case was still pending about all the things he did, and quoted things that he'd said in the police report, all sorts of things. And that thing is, because he's quite well known, that thing went viral because everybody on Facebook that had ever had a problem with him or anything, and he has thousands and thousands of people that
I bet
know
they couldn't
him.
wait for that.
Right.
It was really like that
Gotcha.
because he's
That's
pissed.
terrible.
He's pissed a lot of people off. He's a very challenging person. He's not a bad person. He's just a challenging person. So anyone that wants to have an issue with him took this. It's all over the internet now. He was cleared. She was the one that was made
Wow,
very clearly to be
terrible.
the aggressor and the problem in the situation. But now he can't work anywhere.
It's devastating when it happens in that case. And in fact, in this particular case with this criminal, I really wanted to know specifically what his crime was, because from what I've done in the cyber world, do you know that if a 16-year-old girl sends a naked photo to an 18 or a 20-year-old boy, and that boy sends it off to another friend, suddenly he's in possession of child pornography, and he can appear on a sexual molester's list permanently. He's now a sexual offender. So it's not always fair. And in that case, you really do want to help that kind of person because they're innocent. They're similar to the situation with your friend. My own brother was named in a lawsuit with a lot of other people. And that was the first result that was populating on Google from him. Well, the judge found that this lawsuit had no merit. The fact that all these people, because it wasn't just my brother, were innocent was on page 8 of Google results, right? So guilty is on page 1. And so that's horrible because this is following him, and this is from years ago as well.
Awful.
And so that's when you want to get involved. And that's when I think it's really justified to hire a reputation management company to help you make sure that there's enough positive stuff pushing that result down.
Right.
Because really, why should someone, even a criminal that's done something wrong, if they've paid their dues and done something right, that shouldn't follow them for the rest of their lives.
I agree.
And I've been contacted by people like that. In fact, one of the interesting stories was a heroin smuggler that, believe me, I was really petrified because he was scary on the phone. But he was busted for smuggling heroin into the United States maybe 30 years ago. And now what's happening, since it's his top search result, he's in his 70s now, his daughter is suffering because everyone that Googles her is getting his information. And he's completely turned his life around. And yeah, he made a really big mistake. But he shouldn't have to pay for this for the rest of his life.
Right.
On the other hand, if it was a current sexual offender that was doing something to little children, I want that there as high as it can be to warn everybody. So, you know, when you say, how does going back to my little bit of hate mail, how does Haley know she's right? There is no 100% right answer here. It differs from person to person. And I wouldn't say you must do it this way. Everybody has a different situation, and they have to see what works for them. I would say that if I had little girls, I would be you might as well just check me into a loony bin because I would be so freaked out and worried about the harm that could come to my kid.
I mean,
and
I
you are
I
with
have a 19-year-old
exactly.
stepdaughter, and I think about, even though she's in college, she's always on social media, and I always worry about it.
And there's a lot of kids that are running off with older people because there are predators online in a lot of different formats.
Well, I think of it all the time because I have like 5,000 Facebook friends. I've maxed. And then I have a lot of followers above that. Now, I don't know who those people are a lot of the time.
You don't.
And I work with children. So parents are often like, can you tag us in the photo? Or why didn't you say their names? I always say my little buddy or
very
my little precious, you know.
Yes.
And I won't say their name.
Why don't,
because they can, if they say, oh, this is her name, and then the mom's tagged. What if the mom has some sort of identifying information?
Yeah.
I mean, then it gets
very,
hooked
very
onto
smart.
you. Is that it? Then it gets hooked
No,
onto
it's
you?
not about me. It's about them.
Oh.
Completely about
she'd
them.
be putting them at risk.
I'd be putting them at
the
risk
child
because
at risk.
they've got 120 Facebook friends.
Got it.
I've got over
Right.
8,000 people following
Right.
me on Facebook that I don't know.
Right, right.
Do you use privacy settings?
Yes.
Okay, and are you posting personal stuff that all these strangers can be seeing?
Well, the people, my friends and followers can see it.
Okay, but you've got 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
So in essence, everything that you're doing is public.
Yeah.
That's a problem. See, I have some personal photos on my Facebook, but if I have a stranger or someone from my blog that asks to friend me, I'm going to go straight away and make them a restricted friend.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that means that
I have got to talk to you after the show.
yeah,
I'm gonna
privacy
sit down
settings are
with you.
really important.
Yeah.
It's and for yourselves, we like to think about the kids, but really there's a lot of adults hurting
Yeah,
themselves
I think I'm
too.
going to do something with you on this. I'm going to come back in just a
Yeah.
minute. So we're back here with Haley Kaplan on how to keep yourself safe on the internet. And I actually, George and I gave her our information. All we did was give her our name, right? What we do? We gave you our name and the last few addresses we lived in.
And a basic address, not the full address,
Right.
and ballpark birth date.
Right. And I was saying that I couldn't believe how much stuff she got on me, right? And I am somebody, we talked about the last show, or, don't go into those sweepstakes. Well, I'm always thinking I'm going to win the lottery, so I'm always doing those sweepstakes, right? And now after the show, I'm not going to do one sweepstakes. I'm not
It's
putting
not
my
worth
my
it.
email on anything.
I didn't think so. Well,
Yeah, my
some
information.
people,
I'm so
it is.
naive that way. But now I'm not. So tell me what happened with this. We didn't finish the story about this criminal that had come to you. So did you just tell him I don't want to work with you?
I didn't. I told him that I didn't think I could meet his needs because I pointed out all this other information that I couldn't help with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I don't think it would have made sense for him to just get out of the people directories in that case. I don't want to take
Yeah, that's
somebody's
not the
money.
damning stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't want to take. Well, let's just say you're on the run and your address is somewhere. Maybe that's really
Yeah,
a
that's fair
problem,
enough.
right?
Right.
Maybe he didn't care so much about the sexually promiscuous stuff. That was nothing compared to being
no,
found.
The address is a problem, but
Let's talk about passwords.
passwords are important. Very, very important. It's your first line of defense with everything. And from schmoozing with you gals a little bit, I think it's time to change some passwords.
Sounds like
Oh
it.
my God, I got to
So-
change all my passwords because you said you're talking about pets, right?
Okay.
Let's name some of the things we have to be careful of.
Okay, first of all, when people are cracking, when your passwords are being cracked, it's not somebody that's going, oh, Amy uses her name, da da da. It's really a computer that is running thousands per second of different combinations. So there's things that make a password safer, and that.
Tell me what they are because I'm going to
Okay.
write it down right now.
Okay, and I do want to refer you to my articles on my site. Just
Okay.
type in the word password and read one of my articles so you have it all there nicely. But one of the things is length. So length, the longer your password is, the harder it is for a computer to guess. In between that, you want to have uppercase and lowercase and special characters in there. You do not want to use those let's just say you use certain letters that look like another one. So maybe you're using a 3 to look like an E or vice versa.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You don't want to make things that look like they're clever. I have different tricks that I use for my passwords, but you really want to make them unguessable, different, and unique from site to site. A lot of people use the same password, and you wouldn't believe. Can you take a guess what the number one most used password is?
What?
Password.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Password?
Password. It's the most commonly used. So hackers are going to try that right away. And when I say hackers, I mean their computer algorithms that are going to find it really quickly.
Wow.
passwords
I never
are-
used that one.
Good job, Amy. I'm
Right,
proud of
right,
you.
right.
But pets' names are not good. If you're going to use a pet's name, have it somewhere, have it coded in some way. Throw in some letters, throw in some special characters,
Okay.
throw in something to mix it up there. And then,
Okay.
and again, go for length. Now, there are password checkers. You can go into Google and type password checker, and then you put your password into the password checker, and it will give you the strength.
Right.
Really?
Medium, strong, right.
And on a lot of important sites, I think it might have been a banking site that I noticed, it wouldn't allow me to do a weak password. It has the password checker right there when you're creating
Right.
your password.
Right.
So these institutions that don't want to be hacked, that want to help
smart.
protect you because it comes back to them when you're hacked on
Got
their
it.
online banking. So they're trying to teach you to use better passwords. So that is
Okay.
really, really important.
Okay.
Very important.
John's going to town on his keyboard. What are you typing, babe?
Trying to get everything worked out for the next commercial.
How are we doing?
We're good.
Okay. When you do your ATM thing and you put your password in that,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I have always wondered if that same, like you go up to the ATM, you do it, and then you know how sometimes you don't take your receipt and somebody leaves the receipt there. I just wonder if, my girlfriend Debbie told me she went to get gas on Santa Monica near Westwood, and somebody lifted her card off of the receipt that was left on the gas thing.
Oh.
But her card wasn't on there. And I understood how did they do that if they said that they located it back to the gas station, that it actually was done there. But how did that happen? I mean, they didn't have her unless. And I said, well, maybe someone saw you put your passcode in to your
There
card
is-
or something.
There is actually one of the ways that happens is something called a keylogger. Do you know what a keylogger
No,
is?
what is that?
So there have been instances where criminals have attached something else to the terminal that reads the keys. So it's not being left on a piece of paper, but they're keeping track of every keystroke. And that is another form of cybercrime.
Oh, boy.
So that's another story for another time. So
Okay.
that can be part of how they get that.
Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about online dating, because I met my husband on Match.com. And my profile, I'm just trying to think, what did I give up in information? Because my press agent was really upset because she said, I try to keep you so private, and here you're hanging in your dirty laundry out to dry. But I said things, I didn't think I was that specific. But if you go and read those profiles, some of these women are extremely open about their lives. And, you know, I have this whole thing about the whole profile of that, which is everyone's writing, I'm looking for a guy who like wants a girl in blue jeans and they can also wear a gown. And, you know, I love long walks on the beach. It's like every single one of them is the same. And to me, it yells loudly the word need. Whereas I kind of want to switch it around and say, you know, the man that I would be drawn to would be conscious. Well, you know, idiots thought that meant I didn't mean he was sleeping. Excuse me. It was like spiritually conscious, right? And that would admire his body temple, and that would embrace chivalry and not resent it. And I think I let out one or two things, like my father told me at 8 years old, you're never going to hold on to a man from a can. So I went to my aunt's to learn how to cook, which is how I learned. And she didn't use a recipe. She was amazing. And I let out one other thing about my dog. I did. But I was kind of careful about not letting out too much. But really, if you read them, some of these women let out a lot. So talk to me about how people can be a little more careful with online dating.
Before I do that,
Yeah.
something that was crossing my mind, because
Okay.
I feel like you're a little bit innocent, actually.
And with this stuff.
And I need you to know I was too before I got into this field.
Okay.
So let's cut to a dating site called Ashley Madison,
Oh, I know about
Oh,
who that is.
God.
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
So what is Ashley Madison?
That is, wait a minute, somebody just told me. That's married? No, is that
Yes,
the married
yeah,
men?
that's
The married
right.
men.
No. Married couples, married people.
Married people that want to have affairs. So I have a friend, and you know who you are if you're listening. I'm sorry for talking about it. I'm not mentioning your name. I have a friend that I love and adore, and I learned a lot from her because I had no idea this site existed. And what I discovered is you're out there talking about people that put all their real stuff out there, but don't you know that most people put fake stuff out there? Women are lying about their ages, men are lying about their ages.
Well,
Yeah.
I did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My friend had multiple profiles on this site, and she met somebody that they decided they were going to
Wait,
be
multiple meaning she gave her different ages and all that stuff and
No,
different
she
names?
had different names. She created completely different
Why?
personalities to meet different people.
Oh, my God, that's
Okay.
crazy. Okay.
So she meets a guy that she really likes, and he says, you know what, I'm done with this. I just want to be with you. We're just going to have exclusive affairs. Well, guess what happened? A few months later, he approached one of our other personas. So so you got to know what you're dealing with. And that really is,
Gosh.
you're saying be careful about what you put on there. And yes, absolutely, be careful about what you put on there. But be careful about all the dishonest wolves out there that are, and my dear friend, I'm not saying that you are one.
Right. But I mean,
No,
you,
I
you
had
had
a
made a
s-
point, though, about it, the online dating. That
I
she
actually
said she
had
on
a-
the cover. So that's why I was...
I actually had a similar situation, a very funny one, where I did 1 week of online dating in my entire life, and it was a mess, and I will never go near it again. However, it provided me with great entertainment. This producer found me, took me out to dinner like 3 times in the week. It was like, oh my gosh, you're everything. He was whining, dining, all sorts of stuff. Very well-known guy too. And he's lucky I'm a good person because he was all about, and he said some racial stuff about certain like colored women. And I don't do that. Yeah. And there's a point to this.
Okay.
So my best friend at the time was a Jamaican black girl. I didn't know she was on the site as well. She calls me one day, it's a Wednesday, and I've got lunch with this guy. And she calls me and is like, I'm not going to do the Jamaican
No.
accent. She's like, I've met this guy, he's a producer.
Oh, he was
and
with her
I'm
too.
gonna go to
Yeah.
dinner with this guy. And I said, how did you meet this guy? And she goes, oh, silly. I joined this site. And I was like, hang on. And I just got the shivers like all down my body. And I was like, what's his name?
Oh,
And she says his
my
name,
God.
and I was like, "You're going to dinner with him tonight?" She goes, "Yeah." It's good. And I said, "Yeah, I have lunch with him."
Oh
See?
my God.
So she can't. We said, what can we do? She's really vindictive. I am not. And I was like, no. We're going to take the high road on this. And so she canceled dinner. And I wrote this email sort of saying, well, it appears that you're going to dinner with my best friend tonight, which would suggest that you're not clearly wanting to date me, because he was like, it's just you. I want to take this very serious. Same thing. It was so awkward. This guy has produced so much
my
in LA.
God.
And I come across him all the time. It's always there. And I just keep thinking, I could totally ruin you with this story.
What are some of the other things, though, people have to be careful of? Because, you made a point when you said, I really want to cover predators and online relationships. And
Okay.
why did you feel that was a button for you?
Well, people are on these sites for all sorts of different reasons. You
Right.
may have been there genuinely to meet someone, but there's a lot of vulnerable people. A lot of women,
Yeah.
after they
For
lose
sure.
a spouse and vice versa,
Yeah.
are on there to try to meet someone. And people lose spouses at all different ages, so this is not necessarily an age thing, but I do want to mention that the elderly are at a super risk.
Yeah, I know.
So what can happen is they can be trying to take advantage of someone. And I got a panicked call from a friend whose mom was in that situation. And she started, she's naive. She's in her, I want to say 70s. And she met someone online that sounded really good to her. And she had given her home address and he was coming to meet her. And my girlfriend said, just something doesn't feel right here. He says he's got this, but then when I look, it doesn't. And his profile's missing this information and it's only this and things aren't adding up. And I said, cut it off right now. End it right now. Because if you have this feeling that something's wrong, it probably is. And he was a much younger guy after this woman. Obviously, he was trying to get something financial from her. And there is absolutely, it's completely inappropriate to give out your home address on these sites. So going back to some of the do's and the don'ts, when you have to go with the assumption that most people are dishonest. That's the safer way to go. And I hate to say this, I'm going to encourage you to be slightly dishonest or not as honest as well.
Right.
Don't give away all your information until you
Yeah.
know who you're with. There's different stages, different levels of getting to know people online. And predators come in all shapes and sizes. And some
Right.
of them really act like they're your friends.
Right.
If we have time, I want to tell you a story about my predator. And it
Well,
wasn't-
you know what? Let's hold that. We're going to take a
Okay.
break really quick.
I was just sharing with Haley something that relates to this show. I might as well say it quickly.
Yeah.
That same week, my profile photo was from this show. So the leading question of a guy, the first guy, one of the few I talked to, was, "Oh my gosh, you do a show? What is it?" And I wrote back, "Well, that would identify me really quickly, wouldn't it? Because the minute I tell him what show, he can find out exactly my full name."
Right.
And he
a
could
whole
have found
lot
out
more.
everything
And a whole
else.
lot more.
So it was interesting that usually mistrusting Georgia, who will tell anyone anything, actually, I was like, no.
Good
Good for
job. I'm
you.
glad
That's
your gut
gonna-
kicked
yeah.
in.
So tell me your story about. We're back with Haley Kaplan, by the way, who's our cyber expert in how to keep your information off the net, and if it's on there, how to take it off, and just how to be more careful with your life. So tell me about this. So you had a situation with a predator?
And it's not going to be what you expect. So when I
She
talk,
was the predator. Sorry.
It's so funny.
some people may believe that. 'Cause I
Well,
can
you
find out-
are, basically.
I can find out a lot of information about you
Right.
guys now. But predators come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and forms. And so what happened to me is I was in a privacy group on LinkedIn. And you'd like to think that all these people that are professional people in a privacy group are safe.
Right.
So this was some time ago, and I was trying to decide what direction I wanted to go as a business.
Right.
And somebody had posted on LinkedIn, the post was, does anybody want to come and lecture about identity theft on a cruise ship? And I thought, oh, that'd be really cool because you get to go for free. You maybe
Lovely.
lecture an hour or two out of
We're
a
there.
day, right?
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't know
that's
anything
right.
about it, but I'll talk.
So I said, sure, I'm interested. Tell me more. So now he starts to stroke my ego. Now this is the kind of predator you have to be watch out for if you're an adult, if you're a kid, because
Okay.
people, we hear what we want to hear.
Right.
Oh, you'd be perfect, Haley. Your site, I've looked at it. You are the perfect candidate. You're exactly what they want. But there's just one thing that you need to do. You need to get a certification in identity theft. And, oh, okay, tell me about it. I want to get it because, I'm not making much money right now on what I'm doing, so that'd be great. This would be perfect. So he's got
And this was obviously several years ago.
this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So he sends me a message through LinkedIn instantly. He had it all worked out on this certification. I want to tell you, it was 9 o'clock at night. I was ready to go. It was a $495 program, and it was a 9-hour online certification. And I thought, you know what? I'm energized. The night is young. I'm a night person.
No.
I'm going to start to take the certification now. So I didn't look into it any further. I had been talking with him in this forum on LinkedIn in a closed privacy group.
Wow.
And he's a privacy expert, and he's put out some of his credentials, right? So I pay on PayPal $495, and I'm excited. I am really ready to start the certification. And I go check my email, no link to start. So now I'm like thinking, darn, do I have to wait till tomorrow? I'm ready to start right now. So then I go back and I'm looking at my PayPal receipt. And my goodness, his name is on the receipt. It was his certification. Now he so why am I calling him a predator? He wasn't a sexual predator. He was just taking advantage. He wasn't doing what you're supposed to do on social media and be transparent. Mm-hmm. He was hiding his identity as the purveyor of that course.
Would you have taken it if you knew it was he? Probably. You were probably there.
I don't know that I would. I would have done a lot more homework because really the truth is he was being fraudulent, because it's not true that that's the only certification you need to go be on a cruise line. I later on...
It's amazing when we feel needy at the moment. Because we were needy. We were like excited and like, oh, well, I don't have this. Okay, I'll do it. And
so we're told what we want. So let's jump back to this senior on a dating site who this man is telling her she's beautiful and she's wonderful. And the daughter finds out, wait, you're 70 and he's in his 40s. Something right there is fishy, right? So obviously he had a different motive, a different plan. So whether you're on a dating site or you're just online, it's a business venture. Somebody contacted me again on Google Plus, and he said, you look familiar. How do we know each other? And I looked at him, I don't know. So his response to me was, what do you do? So I have no problem telling anybody that I've got my website. So he says, oh, what a coincidence. I'm in cyber privacy too. And I'm looking for a woman business owner to partner with me, because then I can qualify for a minority-owned business, and that'd be great. And I'm thinking, what a numbskull. Seriously, he knows nothing about me. At this point, he hasn't looked at my site. Yet he's asking, he's considering me really as a business partner. So the point is, at first, maybe the naive Haley would have thought, oh, cool, this is a great opportunity.
Right.
The more cynical and more knowledgeable and knowing a lot more than maybe I want to know says, be very careful when you're online. Don't be so trusting. So going back to dating, take your time. Don't put all the goods out there. Get to know someone, talk to them. Don't give out your personal information.
Yeah.
It's okay. You need a picture there. That's fine. Don't even give your social media profiles. There's a lot of information.
You know what? When I first met Bill and we were talking on the phone, he said, by the way, what's your full name? You said it's Amy. And we had a couple of conversations, and I knew that he was going to Google me, and I didn't want him to know I was bald yet. I just wanted to have that opportunity to tell him myself. So I said, well, it's, Amy. He goes, what? And I said, well, you know the story, right? Right? And I said, well, it's Amy. And he goes, I'm so sorry.
I'm hard of
I
hearing.
can't hear it. I'm so sorry I didn't get that. I said, it's Amy Gibson. I said, oh, you know what? Hold on a second. There's somebody at my door. And he hangs up. And I sat there and I started like having this anxiety. And all of a sudden I called my husband and said, that's not right. I'm never going to find anybody unless I'm bald. And no one's going to want me. I'm going to be this old man. I'm going to be bald. And I went into this whole thing and I was hysterical. And the phone rings and I go, hello. And he goes, wow, I'm on your website. Which one of these girls are you? And I said, all of them. And he goes, oh, that's so cool. Right. But there was that moment, those 6 minutes, 7 minutes, where I was just like, what if he isn't who he said he was? And now I told him who I am. There was this little voice.
It's an important
voice. Because we'd
voice.
only had a couple of conversations, right? And even though he's a good guy and I married him, but still at that time, it was an interesting thing. So I want to talk about the predators that are, well, actually I want to go into a different area. I want to go into cyberbullying, which is a huge subject matter right now. And I'm not as familiar. I mean, some people, I like the little girl. There was a girl that committed suicide recently
Oh, so many all the
because
time.
she was so she was just so
It's heartbreaking.
yeah, and she was deteriorated by the time. I mean, everything came along. What is your advice to handling cyberbullying?
I have so much to say on that.
Please,
it's a
'cause it's really
complex
important.
one.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, and I'm going to take you a little bit beyond kids for a minute because
Okay.
we didn't talk about apps, and apps are
Oh,
really
wow.
important because apps are very much to do with cyberbullying. I don't know if you've heard of apps like Snapchat, disappearing photos, Keek, Ask FM. A lot of these apps.
I don't know about Keek or Ask If. You don't know about those, and you're like Mr.
There are so many apps that are out there for people to post anonymously, and what's
Yeah, I don't
happening
care
is
about that stuff.
well, maybe it doesn't matter for you, but for little kids in school
Right.
that are
Yeah, it
having
makes a lot.
people ruin their reputation and say horrible things about them with no accountability, that's really hard
Yeah.
for
Right.
a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or a
No,
14-year-old.
absolutely.
And girl or boy, it really has led to
For
all
sure.
sorts of tragedies.
Right.
So, I lost my train of thought. That's
Well,
not
for
good.
cyber-
apps.
Oh, the
Yeah, the
apps.
apps,
Okay,
yeah.
so apps are very much responsible, and apps are important in other ways too, which we should come back to because
well,
the
let's
privacy
talk
that
about
they
it.
take. But I'm scared then I'm going to forget my point. I'm not
All right,
as
go to your
used
point
to doing
first.
this as you.
I'm sorry. I forget my point all the time. I'm always going, "Yerp." Don't worry about it.
I'm trying to stay focused with your first question. Then
Okay.
you're giving me the next one.
I'm sorry.
Cyberbullying and apps.
Cyberbullying and apps. So you really want to. The big advice that I say for parents, for educators, is teach kids that they really have to be decent human beings so that when they see other people being cyberbullied, of course you don't want them to cyberbully, but there's a lot of witnesses to cyberbullying. So you really want to teach people basic values and principles so that if they see it, they can't just be an innocent what's the word?
Bystander?
Bystander.
Bystander.
That's what I was. Sorry.
Innocent standbyer?
Yes,
No, it's
that's what I was
fine.
trying.
No, you're
long
great.
day.
You're just
But,
great.
so anyway, you really want people to be watching out for each other to help with bullying because what happens is, believe it or not, some kids can create their own situation. So, for example, an innocent young girl sends a naked photo to a boy that she likes.
Right.
Maybe they're dating. Now they break up, and that boy gets malicious, and now he starts to send that photograph all over the internet. The first person that sees it could start to put a stop to that rather than, snickering over it and spreading it along or not doing anything. We have to help other people.
Can you get in there and lift it?
Can you get there and lift
Can
the
you?
text?
Can you get in there? Is that something you'd be able to remove?
Well, yes and no. For the most part, the answer is really, if you want to be safe, no. Because there's so many ways to capture information once they've made it to the digital world. And that's the thing about these apps. So let's just talk about Snapchat for a minute.
Okay.
Snapchat is an app where you send a picture that disappears. So perhaps an innocent young girl or boy is sending to a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
So it's an anonymous thing? Or does it have
it's
to have
not
your name
even-
attached?
It's
not
has
anonymous, but it
in this
disappears.
particular one, it has your name attached in Snapchat.
Okay.
But the concept is like Mission Impossible. It's going to self-destruct, right?
Got it.
And so when you're slow and less coordinated like I am, there's definitely a virtue to video games that make you more coordinated in terms of capturing a screenshot in a
Right.
hurry. But then it disappears and it's gone,
Okay.
sort of.
But you could totally
But-
easily just do the click.
Right.
And then
You
I've
can-
taken a screenshot. I just
You
did it
can
right then.
screenshot it. You can even have a camera ready that before you're getting that, you can have somebody standing there ready to film it. There are so many ways to get information once it's been digital that, can you delete it? Yeah, but it keeps on going and keeps on going. Do you think US Airways wanted that tweet out there? They sure don't. Believe me, they've
Right.
tried to get rid of it,
Right.
but it just keeps spreading. So people have to... I know. Okay, sorry. Whoopsies. Well, George's mind is in the gutter.
Okay, we're gonna have
John
to.
is
We've
pretty
gone
bad.
over. We've gone over as what John was
Okay.
saying, so we have to cut short.
funniest slip of the tongue.
Oh no!
Whoopsies.
Haley,
Yeah.
we are gonna have to stop because we actually went over.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get in trouble by the network. I really want you to come back. I know that there's more to talk about, and I know that there's more questions that I'm going to have now that you've opened my mind to some of the things that I'm doing wrong. So first of all, let me know where people can find you.
My website, well, I pick what I want people to find about me, so I am very available on social media. So if you Google Hayley Kaplan, Hayley Kaplan, there are several of us. I'm not the one related to the Pig and Whistle or the one in New York, but I will come up with cyber privacy. My site is where you can link to me in all sorts of ways on all my social media, and that is whatisprivacy.com with a hyphen on either side of is. What hyphen or dash is dash privacy.com. And you can reach me on the contact form. You can click on my Facebook page, on my LinkedIn.
You're just all over. I love it.
I am all over.
Did we finish though, really quickly? Did we finish the thought on the Snapshot app real quick? Like we have 20 seconds. Did we finish it?
The bottom
Pretty
line
much.
is when things are anonymous, they're not really. They can be tracked. They can
Got
cause
it.
all sorts of damage.
Okay.
And it's not usually you that does it, it's someone else.
Well, I feel like a complete idiot, I have to tell you. I mean, you have opened my eyes to stuff, and now I'm thinking about all the passwords that I've used, and I'm going to literally go home and I'm going to change my passwords tonight.
That's
I
good
am.
You'll
thing.
forget them all, and then you'll have to,
Then I have to remember what they all
You're
are
gonna call
again.
me and ask for all the new passwords.
Now there are password helpers. I do want to tell you on one of my articles, 1Password. It's called 1Password. So that all you have to remember is one, and then it scrambles all your other passwords and makes them random. So there are helpers.
Oh, wow. Okay, and you just do 1Password. Okay, so I really hope you got a lot out of today's show. I certainly did. Did you, George?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I also feel like I'm like, ugh.
We got work to
gonna
do.
happen?
I'm
Got
sorry.
work to do. No,
Good,
and I'm
it's
so
smart.
grateful.
Better to be smart. My mom will be happy.
Yeah,
There you
Hayley.
go.
I'm so glad you came in. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.